The alien's clawed hand came down hard across the small feline's face. The creature yelped and tumbled across the smooth deck plating of the trading station, its oversized ears flattened against its skull. "Filthy pest," the Krell merchant hissed, his triple-jointed legs clicking as he advanced on the trembling animal. "Stop." The word cut through the marketplace din like a blade. The Krell turned, his compound eyes refracting the harsh overhead lights. A human child stood 3 meters away. Male, maybe 10 cycles old by their strange aging system. His hands hung loose at his sides. "This does not concern your kind, mammal." The Krell's translator box rendered his contempt perfectly. "Return to your guardian before you find trouble." The boy didn't move. His eyes locked onto the merchant with an intensity that seemed wrong for something so small. "That's a Valky kitten. They're protected under station law. Walk away." The Krell's mandibles spread in what passed for amusement among his species. Around them, other traders began to notice. A Safani crystal vendor backed away from her stall. 2 Orothian laborers stopped their cargo hauling. Protected. The Krell took a step toward the child. "By whom? You? A soft-skinned whelp who barely reaches my thorax?" The kitten mewled from where it had collapsed. Blood matted the silver fur around its eye. The boy's jaw tightened. "Last chance," the boy said. His voice stayed level. "Controlled. Back. Off." The Krell lunged. The movement was fast by most species standards. His clawed appendage swept toward the child's head with enough force to shatter bone, but the boy was already inside the arc. His small palm struck the merchant's center joint. Something cracked. The Krell's screech filled the marketplace as his leg bent at an impossible angle. The boy didn't stop. He grabbed the damaged limb and twisted. The Krell crashed onto the deck. Before the alien could recover, the child's knee drove into the vulnerable gap between thorax plates. Air exploded from the merchant's breathing vents. "You touched an endangered species," the boy said, his voice still eerily calm as he pressed down harder. "You assaulted a protected animal in a civilian zone. You then attempted violence against a minor." The Krell thrashed. The boy shifted his weight. Another crack. Another screech. "Station security is already coming. I can hear their boots. Deck 7 boots have a specific echo pattern." The child glanced at the crowd that had formed. 47 witnesses by my count. Most have recording devices active. The Krell's struggles weakened. Fear pheromones leaked from his carapace. The boy finally looked up, scanning faces in the crowd. "Someone call medical for the kitten. Internal bleeding likely." A Threnody merchant stumbled backward, her tentacles quivering. She'd seen many things in her long cycles of trade. But watching a human child calmly dismantle a Krell warrior while discussing legal statutes and medical diagnoses, that was new. That was terrifying. The security boots got louder. The boy didn't move. Station security arrived in formation. 6 armored Vexians, their exoskeletons gleaming under the harsh lights. The lead officer's optical sensors swept the scene. Krell merchant on the ground. Human child standing over him. Crowd frozen in a perfect circle. "Step back from the detainee," the lead officer commanded. The boy moved away without protest. His hands remained visible. "Officer, I'm invoking Protection Clause 7 under the Interspecies Youth Safety Act. I was defending myself and an endangered animal from assault." The Vexian's antennae twitched. This child spoke like a lawyer. "Name and guardian identification." "Connor Blake. My father is Captain Richard Blake of the human freighter Titan's Promise, currently docked at Bay 42. You'll find him in the station commander's office negotiating fuel contracts." The officer's partner moved to restrain the Krell, who is still gasping on the deck. 2 more security members began scanning the crowd for testimony. The lead officer's sensors focused on Connor. "You injured a Krell merchant. I neutralized an active threat using minimum necessary force." Connor's voice never wavered. "He struck a Valky kitten in violation of Conservation Treaty Theta. When I verbally warned him, he attempted to assault me. I have witnesses. 47 at last count, most with active recording devices." The Vexian accessed his datapad. The crowd recordings were already uploading to the station's legal database. Protocol required he review them. What he saw made his neural processors spike with confusion. The Krell strike had been lethal intent, full force, aimed at the child's skull. The boy's response had been surgical. "Where did you learn combat techniques?" the officer asked. "My mother was a combat instructor before she died. She taught me defensive protocols starting at age 4. Connor glanced at the kitten, which a Threnody merchant was carefully examining. "Is the Valky going to survive?" "Medical is en route." The officer's tone shifted slightly. "Less aggressive. Your response was disproportionate for your size class. My response was proportionate to the threat level. The Krell outweighs me by a factor of 6. His reach exceeds mine by 2 meters. His exoskeleton provides natural armor. I had to disable him quickly or risk severe injury." Connor met the officer's optical sensors without flinching. "I'm prepared to provide a full statement. I'm prepared to undergo truth verification. I'm prepared to submit to medical examination for evidence collection." The Vexian had processed thousands of assault cases. Beings lied. They made excuses. They showed fear or aggression or guilt. This human child showed none of those things. "You'll need to come to security headquarters." "Understood. I'd like to request that someone stay with the Valky until medical arrives. Its frightened and injured animals can make poor decisions." The officer assigned one of his team to kitten duty. As they prepared to leave, the Threnody merchant who'd called for medical approached. Her tentacles formed a gesture of respect in human custom. "The child speaks truth," she said. "I witnessed everything." The Krell was vicious, unprovoked. The small one gave warning. Other voices joined hers, a chorus of agreement from multiple species. The Krell had been the aggressor. The human had shown restraint. Terrifying, efficient restraint, but restraint nonetheless. The lead officer's partner hauled the Krell to his feet. The merchant's leg hung at an unnatural angle. His breathing vents wheezed. "You broke me." The Krell gasped at Connor. "You're just a child. Just a weak human child." Connor turned to face him. For the first time, something flickered in the boy's eyes. Not anger, not satisfaction, something colder. "My mother trained soldiers before she had me," Connor said quietly. "She trained special forces, the ones humans send when wars need to end quickly. She made me promise that I'd only use what she taught me to protect things that couldn't protect themselves." He looked back at the injured Valky, which was now being loaded onto a medical transport. "That kitten couldn't protect itself," Connor continued. "So I kept my promise." The Krell's compound eyes widened. Around them, the crowd began to disperse, but the conversations had already started. By the time Connor reached security headquarters, the story would be spreading through the station's network. A human child, 10 cycles old, had destroyed a Krell warrior in seconds, and he'd done it while reciting legal statutes. The officer guided Connor toward the security lifts. "Your father is going to receive notification of this incident. He'll be disappointed I let it escalate to physical contact," Connor said. "He's always telling me to walk away from trouble." The Vexian's antennae twitched again. "Why didn't you?" Connor's answer was simple. The kitten couldn't walk away. Captain Richard Blake stood in the security headquarters observation room. His weathered face showed no expression as he watched the interview feed. Connor sat alone in the interrogation chamber, his small frame almost swallowed by the adult-sized chair. The station commander, a 4-armed Quellan named Vortash, stood beside Richard. "Your son hospitalized a Krell merchant, 3 fractured limbs, severe thorax trauma. The medical team says he'll need surgery and regeneration therapy." "I saw the recordings," Richard said. His voice carried the same controlled calm as his son's. 47 angles, crystal clear. "Then you understand the situation." Vortash's upper arms crossed while his lower pair gestured at the screen. "Regardless of provocation, this level of damage from a human child is unprecedented. The Krell Trade Guild is demanding compensation. They're threatening to pull their contracts from this station." Richard finally turned to face the commander. "Let them pull." Vortash's eye stalks retracted slightly. "Captain, perhaps you don't grasp the economic implications." "I grasp them fine." Richard moved closer to the window. Connor was answering questions from a Vexian investigator with the same mechanical precision he'd shown in the marketplace. But you need to grasp something else. That Krell violated 3 separate station regulations. He assaulted an endangered animal. He attempted to kill a minor. All on camera. Your son's response was excessive. My son's response saved his own life. Richard's jaw tightened. You see a child who hurt someone. I see a child who survived someone trying to hurt him. There's a difference. The door opened. A human woman in civilian clothes entered. Late 30s, athletic build, with sharp eyes that cataloged everything instantly. She carried a datapad and a legal certification badge. Captain Blake. Commander Vortash. She extended her hand to Richard. I'm Lauren Wright, human legal advocate stationed here. I've reviewed the case files. This is a station matter, Vortash said. External advocates aren't required. They are when Interspecies Youth Safety Act provisions are invoked. Lauren pulled up files on her datapad, which Connor Blake did correctly. Within 30 seconds of the incident, that automatically triggers human government oversight for any being under 18 standard years. Vortash's eye stalks extended fully. Annoyance. The boy is hardly traumatized. Look at him. They all turned to the screen. Connor was drawing a diagram for the investigator, explaining the biomechanical weaknesses in Krell anatomy with the enthusiasm of someone discussing a hobby. Trauma presents differently in different individuals, Lauren said. But that's irrelevant. The law is clear. Connor identified himself as a minor, invoked protection, and acted in self-defense. The evidence supports his account completely. The Krell Guild wants justice. The Krell Guild can file a civil complaint. Lauren's voice hardened. But criminally, your own security footage shows their merchant attempting murder. If you charge Connor, I'll have the Galactic Court involved within an hour. And then everyone gets to learn that this station allowed a merchant to nearly kill a child over protecting an endangered animal. The room went silent except for the hum of environmental systems. Vortash's skin shifted colors. Red to purple. Anger to calculation. What do you propose? He asked finally. Drop all charges against Connor. Issue a formal citation to the Krell merchant. Follow proper protocols. Lauren glanced at Richard, and maybe ask how a 10-year-old human learned to fight like that. Richard's expression didn't change. His mother taught him. Where is she? Vortash asked. Dead 4 years ago. Killed during a pirate raid on a civilian transport. Richard's voice went flat. She was protecting the children in the passenger section. Bought them enough time for security to respond. All 16 kids survived. Lauren's eyes softened slightly. I'm sorry. She made her choice. She trained our son to make the right choices too. Richard turned back to the window. Connor could have killed that Krell. He's been taught how. He chose not to. That's the part everyone's missing. A trained killer would have gone for lethal strikes. Connor disabled and controlled. That's discipline. That's restraint. In the interrogation room, Connor had finished his diagram. The Vexian investigator was staring at it with what looked like fascination and horror. What's he drawing? Vortash asked. Lauren zoomed the feed. The diagram showed Krell anatomy with pressure points marked in red, strike zones in yellow, lethal areas crossed out in black. He's showing where he didn't hit, Richard said quietly. That's what my wife would have wanted him to do. Prove he knows the difference. Vortash's colors shifted again. Purple to blue, calculation to acceptance. The Krell will still demand something, he said. Then demand the merchant pay restitution to the Valky Conservation Fund, Lauren suggested. Animal cruelty violations carry mandatory fines under Conservation Treaty Theta. Use those. Everyone wins. Everyone except the merchant who started this. The commander considered this, his lower arms uncrossed. I'll present it to the guild. He moved toward the door, then paused. Captain Blake, keep your son away from the marketplace for the next few cycles. Let things settle. Understood. After Vortash left, Lauren approached Richard. Connor's going to be famous after this. The recordings are already spreading beyond the station. Humans aren't known for combat prowess in the galactic community. A child doing what he did? That changes perceptions. Famous isn't safe, Richard said. No, it's not. Lauren watched Connor through the glass. But it might be necessary. The galaxy thinks humans are soft, diplomatic, good with technology but poor with violence. Maybe it's time they learned otherwise. Richard's hand touched the window. He's just a kid. He's a human kid. And he just reminded everyone what that means. The news spread through the station's network like plasma through conduits. By the time Connor was released from security headquarters, every species with access to galactic networks had seen the footage. The human child who dismantled a Krell warrior while discussing legal code became the most shared content in 3 sectors. But the real impact hit 2 days later. Richard was loading cargo onto the Titan's Promise when his comm unit chimed. Unknown frequency. Military encryption. Captain Blake, this is Admiral Kess of the Vexian Defense Fleet. We need to discuss your son. Richard set down the cargo container he'd been moving. He's not joining any military. We're not recruiting. We're concerned. The Admiral's voice carried weight that transcended translation. The recordings have reached beyond civilian channels. Multiple military organizations across 4 species have analyzed Connor's combat performance. The consensus is troubling. Troubling how? Your son moved with trained precision. His strike placement, timing, and threat assessment. He's 10 years old. Captain over. That suggests your species has been developing child soldiers. Richard's laugh was sharp and bitter. You think Earth has secret child warrior programs? We barely have unified governance. Our people argue about everything. Then explain your son's capabilities. I already did. His mother trained him. She was former military, special operations. After she left service, she became a private instructor. Richard leaned against the cargo bay wall. When Connor was born, she made a decision. The galaxy isn't safe. She'd seen enough violence to know that. So she taught him to survive it. One instructor created that level of skill. One dedicated mother with 8 years, and nothing but time. Richard's voice softened. She died protecting strangers' children, Admiral. Before that, she made sure her own child could protect himself. That's not a military program. That's a parent who loved her son. Silence on the line. Then, other species are reacting to this information. The Krell Guild has issued a bounty. Nothing official, but word is spreading. Your son embarrassed them, made them look weak. Richard's blood went cold. How much? 50,000 credits. For anyone who can prove humans aren't as dangerous as the recordings suggest. They want Connor challenged. Defeated. Humiliated. The Admiral paused. Captain, you need to leave this station. Immediately. We've got contracts to fulfill. Break them. Pay the penalties. Get your son somewhere safe. The Admiral's urgency was clear even through translation software. I've seen this pattern before. Pride-based bounties attract the worst elements. Mercenaries. Hunters. Beings who rationalize harming a child as teaching humans their place in the galactic hierarchy. Richard closed his eyes. His wife's voice echoed in memory. Teach him to be ready. Teach him to survive. But teach him to walk away when he can. I'll need 6 hours to prep for departure, Richard said. You have 4. After that, I can't guarantee station security will prioritize your safety over maintaining peace with the Krell Guild. The connection ended. Richard found Connor in the ship's small recreation area. The boy was reading a book on xenobiology, his legs dangling from a chair too large for him. He looked up as his father entered. We're leaving, Richard said. Connor closed the book. Because of what I did, because of what you had to do. Richard sat across from him. The Krell are making this personal. They've put out a bounty. Nothing official, but dangerous enough. How much am I worth? Enough to attract trouble. Richard studied his son's face. No fear, no panic. Just that same calm assessment his mother had always shown. Your mom would tell you this is when discretion beats valor. She'd tell me to run. She'd tell you to survive. Running's just the method. Richard stood. Pack your essentials. We launch in 3 hours. I'm filing emergency departure protocols. Connor moved toward his quarters, then stopped. Dad, the Valky kitten. Is it okay? Medical released it yesterday. Full recovery expected. The Conservation Fund is taking custody. Good. Connor hesitated. I'm sorry I caused problems. You caused problems for people who hurt defenseless animals. I'm not sorry about that. Your mother wouldn't be either. Richard put his hand on his son's shoulder. But the galaxy doesn't always reward doing the right thing. Sometimes it punishes it. That's why we're leaving. 90 minutes later, alarms blared through the docking bay. Richard was running pre-flight checks when his external cameras picked up movement. 3 figures approaching the ship, bipedal, armored, carrying weapons that weren't legal in civilian zones. His comm crackled. Captain Blake, you have visitors. Station security is responding, but they're 6 minutes out. It was Admiral Kess. Can you seal your ship? Already sealing. Richard triggered the emergency lockdown. Heavy blast doors slammed shut. Connor, get to the safe room. Now. But Connor was already at the viewport, watching the figures approach. Thragosian mercenaries. 3 of them. Military-grade plasma rifles. They're not here to talk. How do you know the species? Mom's flashcards. She made me memorize threat profiles for 42 different species. Connor backed away from the window. Brigashans hunt for honor challenges. The Krell bounty would appeal to their cultural values. The lead mercenary raised his weapon. Richard hit the ship's external speakers. This is a human vessel under Interspecies Protection Treaty. You are in violation of station regulations. Stand down. The mercenary's response was a plasma bolt that scorched the hull plating. They're not standing down, Connor said. Richard's hands flew across the controls. The Titan's Promise wasn't a warship, it was a freighter. But every ship had defenses. He activated the anti-boarding countermeasures. Electromagnetic pulses rippled across the hull. The mercenaries' rifles sparked and died. They didn't retreat. They dropped the weapons and drew blade weapons instead. They're committed, Connor observed. Thragosian honor codes don't allow retreat once a challenge is accepted. Then they're about to learn why humans built ships with backup plans. Richard activated the cargo bay venting system. Atmosphere screamed out of the bay in a controlled purge. The mercenaries stumbled, their magnetic boots struggling against the sudden decompression. Station security finally arrived. Vexian officers in full combat gear swarmed the bay. The mercenaries went down hard, stunned and restrained within seconds. Richard sagged in his chair. Connor stood beside him, still calm, still watching. This won't be the last ones, the boy said quietly. I know. Where are we going? Richard pulled up a star chart. Deep space routes, away from major stations, away from Krell territory. Somewhere they can't follow easily. Somewhere we can disappear for a while. He looked at his son. Your mother always said humans were best when they adapted. Time for us to adapt. Connor nodded. She also said humans were best when they fought back one day. But not today. Today we survive. The Titan's Promise launched 20 minutes later, leaving the station and its bounty hunters behind. But the recordings remained, and the galaxy was starting to understand what humanity meant. 3 months in deep space changed nothing. The bounty grew. 50,000 became 75, then 100. The Krell Guild added incentives. Proof of defeat wasn't enough anymore. They wanted Connor brought to their homeworld, alive, for a public judgment. Richard monitored communications from the edge of charted space. Every station buzzed with the same conversations. The human child, the impossible fighter, the species everyone had underestimated. Then the attacks started happening to other humans. A human trade delegation on Sector 9, ambushed by mercenaries demanding they produce warriors like Connor Blake. 2 diplomats injured before station security intervened. A human research outpost on the frontier, raided by Krell sympathizers looking for military training facilities that didn't exist. A human passenger liner, boarded and searched, terrified. Families questioned about combat protocols and child soldier programs. Richard watched the reports with growing fury. His son's act of defense had become justification for violence against innocent people. They're using me as an excuse. He sat in the cockpit reading the same reports. To hurt humans. To prove we're not special. You are special. Just not the way they think. Richard killed the communication feed. But you're right. This has gone beyond us. What do we do? Before Richard could answer, proximity alarms screamed. A ship had dropped out of FTL drive directly in their path. Military configuration. Unknown registry. Richard's hands flew to weapons controls. Strap in. The incoming ship broadcast on all frequencies. Human vessel Titan's promise. This is the independent cruiser, Retribution. We're not here to collect the bounty. Then what do you want? Richard demanded. To talk, face to face, about stopping this madness before more humans die. Connor was already analyzing the ship's profile. It's not Krell. Configuration matches Quellan design, but the power signature is wrong. Modified engines. Enhanced weapons. This is a privateer vessel. Could be a trap, Richard said. Probably is, Connor agreed. But they're right about one thing. More humans are getting hurt because of what I did. We can't run forever. Richard studied his son's face. 10 years old, carrying weight no child should carry, but handling it with the same grace his mother would have shown. If we dock and it goes bad, you follow Emergency Protocol 7, understand? Escape pod to the nearest human outpost. Don't look back. Don't negotiate. Connor recited it like a prayer. I remember. Richard opened a channel. Retribution. We'll accept docking, but any hostile action gets met with everything we have. Understood? Bay 3 is open. The docking procedure took 12 minutes. Richard kept weapons hot the entire time. When the airlock finally cycled open, he stepped through first, keeping Connor behind him. The bay was empty, except for one figure. Human. Female. Mid-40s. Military bearings so ingrained it showed in every movement. She wore civilian clothes but carried herself like someone who'd commanded soldiers. Captain Blake, Connor. She nodded to each of them. I'm Victoria Grant, former colonel in Earth's Unified Special Forces. Retired 5 years ago. Richard's hand stayed near his sidearm. You know my wife? Knew. Catherine Blake was in my unit. One of the best I ever trained. Victoria's expression softened. I heard what happened to her. I'm sorry. Everyone's sorry. Nobody stopped it from happening. Richard's voice was flat. What do you want, Colonel? To fix the mess we created. Victoria gestured toward the interior of her ship, and to stop the galaxy from starting a war over a misunderstanding. They followed her to a briefing room. Screens covered the walls, showing news feeds from across known space, human communities under pressure, diplomatic channels breaking down, military forces on multiple worlds increasing readiness levels. The Krell Guild isn't acting alone anymore, Victoria said. 3 other species have joined their position. They're demanding Earth reveal its military capabilities, prove that humans aren't hiding warrior programs. The diplomatic corps is scrambling, but they have no evidence to provide because the programs don't exist. So tell them the truth, Connor said. Show them training records. Explain that it was just one person teaching one child. We did. They don't believe us. Victoria pulled up a recording. Galactic Council chambers. Earth's ambassador presenting evidence, being shouted down by Krell representatives and their allies. They think we're lying, covering up secret operations. The alternative, that one human mother could train her child to that level, scares them more than organized military programs. Richard understood immediately, because programs can be controlled, monitored. But if any human can do what Catherine did, if any human child can become what Connor is, then every human becomes a potential threat. Exactly. Victoria leaned against the table. The galaxy built its power structure on predictable capabilities. Krell have strength. Vexians have speed. Quellans. Humans were supposed to be the diplomatic species. Good with technology. Not dangerous. But we are dangerous, Connor said quietly. We just hide it better. Victoria looked at the boy with something like pride. Your mother understood that. She knew humans adapted, learned, became whatever we needed to survive. She made you into proof of that. And now everyone wants to either prove I'm not special or prove that all humans are threats, Connor said. There's no middle ground anymore. There could be. Victoria pulled up new files. I've been gathering others like your mother, former military. Retired special operators, People who've trained their children the same way Catherine trained you. Not because of government programs, because they're parents who understand the galaxy is dangerous. The screens filled with faces. Human children ranging from 8 to 16. Different backgrounds. Different regions of Earth and the colonies. But all carrying the same trained awareness Connor showed. There's 43 of them, Victoria said. 43 human children whose parents taught them to survive, to fight when necessary, to protect themselves and others. She looked directly at Connor. You're not alone. You're just the one who got caught on camera. Richard processed this. What are you proposing? A demonstration. Controlled. Public. Show the galaxy exactly what humans are capable of when we choose to be. Victoria's voice hardened with certainty. Not a military program. Not a government conspiracy. Just parents who love their children enough to prepare them for reality. That could make things worse, Richard said. Prove their fears right. Or it could establish boundaries. Show them that attacking humans comes with consequences. That underestimating us is a mistake they'll only make once. Victoria pulled up tactical projections. Right now, they think Connor's an anomaly, a fluke. If we show them the truth that humanity trains its young to survive, to adapt, to overcome, they'll think twice before targeting civilian populations. Connor studied the faces on the screens. Other children carrying the same burden he carried. You want to weaponize us, use us as deterrents. I want to protect humanity by showing we can protect ourselves, Victoria corrected. There's a difference. At the tactical displays. At the future spiraling toward conflict or submission. Catherine's voice echoed in his memory again. Teach him to survive. But teach him to choose his battles. What kind of demonstration? Richard asked. Victoria smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. The Krell Guild wants Connor for judgment. Let's give them something to judge. The arena on Krell Prime filled with representatives from 60 species. Galactic media broadcast to every corner of known space. The Krell Guild had accepted Victoria's proposal with barely concealed eagerness. They expected humiliation, proof that humans were frauds. They were about to learn otherwise. Connor stood in the preparation chamber with 5 other human children. Ages ranged from 9 to 15. 2 girls, 4 boys, including him. Each trained by parents who'd seen the galaxy's dangers firsthand. Remember the objective, Victoria said through their comm units. This isn't about winning. It's about showing control, capability, humanity's capacity for measured force. The arena rules were simple. 6 human children against 12 trained Krell warriors. Non-lethal weapons. First team to achieve complete incapacitation won. The Krell had selected their best. Young warriors eager to restore their species' reputation. Connor checked his equipment. Stun batons. Standard arena gear. Beside him, a girl named Maya stretched. Her mother had been a combat medic who'd survived 3 war zones. They'll charge straight at us, Maya said. Krell tactics favor direct confrontation, overwhelming force. Then we don't meet them head-on, Connor replied. We move, adapt, make them fight our way. The arena doors opened. The crowd roared. Krell spectators dominated the stands, their clicking mandibles creating a sound like grinding metal. But other species watched too. Humans in the diplomatic section. Vexians analyzing with military precision. Quellans recording every detail. The 12 Krell warriors entered from the opposite side. Massive, armored, confident. Connor's team spread into formation. Not a line. A triangle. Fluid. Mobile. The starting signal blared. The Krell charged exactly as Maya predicted. Raw power. Straightforward aggression. They expected the human children to panic, to scatter. Connor's team flowed like water around rocks. The lead Krell warrior swung his stun baton at Connor. The boy was already gone, sliding beneath the strike. Maya hit the warrior's joint with surgical precision. He collapsed. 1 down. The crowd's roar changed pitch. How it could have slipped outside of our perimeters. Surprise replacing certainty. 2 more Krell converged on a human boy named Derek. Ed, 15 years old. His father had trained in zero-gravity combat. Derek leaped, Using his smaller mass to his advantage, he bounced between the two warriors, striking nerve clusters his mother had taught him to find. Both Krell stumbled, shields flickering. The human children moved like they'd trained together for years, though they'd met only 3 days ago. Because they'd all learned the same fundamental truth. Humans didn't win through strength. They won through adaptation. A Krell warrior caught Maya with a glancing blow. She rolled with the impact, turned it into momentum, came up behind him and disabled his shield generator. Another human child, a girl named Sophie, finished the takedown. 5 Krell. 7 remaining. The warriors adjusted tactics. They formed their own defensive cluster, smarter, but still predictable. Connor signaled. The human team split. 3 went high, using arena obstacles for elevation. 3 stayed low, creating crossing angles of attack. The Krell formation couldn't defend both vectors simultaneously. The fight lasted 8 minutes total. When it ended, all 12 Krell warriors were incapacitated. All 6 human children stood ready for more. The arena went silent. Then the Vexian section began a slow, rhythmic percussion, their species' sign of respect for superior tactics. Other species joined, not cheering, acknowledging, recognizing. The Krell spectators remained silent. In the diplomatic section, Earth's ambassador stood. Her voice carried through the arena's amplification system. You asked for proof of human capabilities. You've seen it. Not from military programs or government conspiracies. From parents teaching children to survive. This is what humanity does. We adapt. We learn. We protect what matters. She paused. And we remember who threatens us. Victoria entered the arena, walking to where Connor and his team stood. She faced the Krell representatives in their observation box. The bounty on Connor Blake ends now. The harassment of human civilians ends now. You wanted to know what humans are capable of when pushed? Now you know. Don't push again. The head Krell representative, an elder warrior named Thek, stood. His translator box crackled. This proves nothing except that you train your young for war. We train our young for survival, Victoria corrected. There's a difference you refuse to see. We don't see conflict. We prepare for it. Every species has the right to defend itself, including humanity. Your children are weapons. Connor stepped forward before Victoria could respond. His voice carried through the arena's pickup system. I'm not a weapon. I'm a kid who didn't want to see an animal die. Everything that happened after that was everyone else's choice, not mine. He looked up at Thex. Your merchant chose violence. Your guild chose bounties. Your warriors chose this challenge. I just chose to survive each time someone made me fight. The simplicity of it echoed through the arena, a child stating truth that diplomats had been dancing around for months. Thex's mandibles worked silently. Around him, other Krell representatives shifted. The crowd's mood had changed. What had begun as spectacle had become something else. A mirror showing the galaxy its own assumptions and fears. A Quellan diplomat stood in her section. The boy speaks wisdom. We came here expecting to see human aggression. Instead, we saw human defense. Precise. Controlled. Never exceeding what necessity demanded. She addressed the full arena. Perhaps the lesson isn't about human capability. Perhaps it's about our own failure to distinguish between strength and violence. More voices joined hers, species that had remained neutral, representatives, who'd watched with open minds. The narrative was shifting. Thex finally spoke again. The bounty will be withdrawn. The guild acknowledges that our merchant acted improperly. That human response, while unexpected, was not unprovoked. It wasn't an apology, but it was acknowledgement. Victoria nodded. Humanity accepts. But understand this. What you saw today was restraint. These children could have caused permanent harm. They chose not to, because that's what we teach. Control, judgment, proportional response. Remember that next time you think about testing human resolve. The arena began to empty. Species filed out. Conversations already starting about policy adjustments. New assessments of human diplomatic weight. Recalculations of power dynamics. Richard met Connor at the arena exit. Father and son stood together as the crowds passed. "Your mother would be proud," Richard said quietly. "Not about the fighting, about everything else. The choice to protect that kitten. The choice to show mercy when you didn't have to. The choice to speak truth instead of threats." Connor leaned against his father, still just a 10-year-old boy beneath all the training. "Can we go home now?" he asked. "Yeah, we can go home." They walked toward the Titan's promise together. Behind them, the galaxy began processing what it had learned. Humanity wasn't hiding warrior programs. Humanity was teaching its children to be survivors, to be protectors, to be capable of violence but to choose restraint. The recordings from the arena would spread even faster than the marketplace footage, but this time, the message was different. Humans could fight, but they'd rather not. They could hurt, but they'd rather heal. They could destroy, but they'd rather build. And if pushed, they'd show exactly why underestimating them was a mistake. The Titan's promise launched from Krell Prime 3 hours later. Richard plotted a course for Earth, for home, for the normal life Connor deserved and might finally be able to have. In the cargo bay, the rescued Valky kitten, now fully healed, played in a specially constructed habitat. The Conservation Fund had gifted it to Connor, a reminder of what he'd fought to protect. Connor watched it through the viewport, small smile on his face. Sometimes being human meant standing up when others wouldn't. Sometimes it meant protecting things that couldn't protect themselves. Sometimes it meant showing the galaxy that strength wasn't about size or aggression. It was about choice.